Hey, we're talking about Game of Thrones Season 8, and there's going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet, you know, we're going to spoil it for you. Up next on Geek Out SA. Friday and we're having fun, and yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
Are we started or not?
A ton of fun on Geek Out SA. And I'm double checking to make sure that we're on. It didn't pop up like it should have. Whoa.
Now you know how to stop it? Now you can't stop it. Okay, well, Vince is distracted. Let's take over the show. Hurry.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
So yes, we're talking, and we have Alicia here. So
we have our twins
and they're
Targaryen
Twinkies.
Twins.
She stole my outfit. Rude.
So yeah, Game of Thrones Season 8 finished. The whole thing is done.
But before we start, I have something for you both.
Oh,
it's not Game of Thrones related.
Oh, so we'll do it first.
It was supposed to be an end of year.
Well,
school
the end
year
of year is coming,
present.
like
It's
winter.
coming in,
the
like-
end of year.
Yeah, so in advance.
End of year.
Just rip it. I'm a terrible rapper.
it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't have regular tape. I had to
I
use
made
double
it
stick
You
tape.
use super glue.
Yeah,
So
almost.
That's nice.
My son uses all the tape in the house, so.
All the tapes. Oh, look! We were actually looking at this the other
neat.
day, remember?
I've been wanting to get that for you for a while.
Yes, we would totally use it.
It's a Star Wars Thumb Wars book.
Yes.
With little lightsabers that you attach to your thumbs. And
Nice.
then the little book is like the stages for the
Challenge the Chancellor.
For the thumb.
And then you put
Very
your thumbs in there.
with the and these go over your thumbs, the little lightsabers.
Cool.
This is fun. Thank you.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
I declare a thumb war.
Yeah.
Oh, and they
Thank
even
you.
have Rey and Kylo in here.
Ah.
Nice.
You can be Kylo because
You know, every good couple does thumb wrestling, so
oh, okay.
I thought that was good.
We do real wrestling.
Speaking of wrestling,
But I let her win.
oh,
I know we didn't
Just
go there.
kidding.
We're gonna talk about Game of Thrones before Vince gets hurt. Up next.
So yeah,
So do you want to talk about all the disappointing parts first? Hated it.
did you really hate it?
Well, the finale or the season?
Both.
let's talk about the season. So it starts off. It starts off with them trying to meet to go fight the
White Walkers.
White Walkers, and
The Night King and his things. So that's fine. So we've
That was
got
fine.
some of that normal Game of Thrones stuff, and we're talking, and Sansa hates Daenerys. Good, like we need all that, and okay, we're fine. Okay, that's all fine, in my opinion.
Yes.
we were good. We started off fine, and then winter cometh,
Yes.
and everything goes to hell in a handbasket, in my opinion.
The battle, the first battle,
Yeah, the battle.
you didn't like that?
No. It was super unrealistic. Like, there were so many Nightwalkers, and then for him to raise everybody who was dead and have them come back, it was too many forces. All the humans would be dead. Let's just
Yeah.
be reasonable. All the humans would be dead.
Well, and a lot of people said the Dothraki and the Unsullied were like demolished,
They
but then they
were.
came back.
exactly.
So that
What
was
they showed us, they were gone. Like
that
they
was a little.
went out, and so it's our assumption that the Dothraki and the Unsullied are all dead. So then, what does Daenerys have as forces? And then magically, when we go later on in the series, she has all of these
she has
forces.
more forces.
Really? Are you sure?
And Retro Crunch is watching around. He says, "Hey, Colleen." And Vince.
Hi, Retro Crunch.
Hi, Retro Crunch.
So yeah, I was really disappointed in that. It was really darkly shot.
Yeah, that's so that you could have suspense and not know who died.
It was too much action going on, not enough time to process it. There were too many walkers, not enough of them died like with the dragon fire and all the other stuff, and then he just raised everybody that they had killed. To me, it was totally unrealistic.
I think they should have showed more people that we knew, shown them die.
Die off.
Yeah, they just kept
Theon.
everyone
They
that
kept
you
everyone
wanted to
except
keep.
Theon.
Yeah.
And the other guy, Jorah.
Yeah, Jorah, but who cares about Jorah?
And who cares?
Nobody cares about him.
Yeah.
Literally nobody cares. Sorry, Jorah, but nobody cares. The only saving grace is Arya and the Night King.
Did you like that?
I do like that because Arya is my girl. I wear this shirt because I got it as a
But
gift
I kind of
on House Stark.
I almost shrieked because I thought he stabbed her.
Oh, yeah.
First.
At
It seemed like he stabbed her, and you're like-
her. That scene was well played. It was well cut. It was well played. It was great. We could have gotten there. We should have gotten there a lot sooner, right? We should have gotten there a lot sooner. He should have come to attack Bran. She should have done that. It should have been a lot sooner. Instead, we went through all of this gore and mayhem for nothing. Really for nothing. I mean, literally, it was like kind of for nothing.
It was a bit anticlimactic.
I mean, I think it was to make. I know what I think they were trying to do, and like you said, Alicia, that they didn't want us to know who died, but that just went on for too long, and you were like, well. And some people I thought didn't die,
right.
Because they looked like they turned to White Walkers, but it wasn't them.
Yeah.
It was somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to make us think, but I just hated it. It just really.
And what did you think of the finale?
So, well, I guess first we have to talk about before the finale when Daenerys blasts the city.
Oh yeah, that's the next episode.
So in the next episode, we were done with the White Walkers, and now we have to go to get rid of Cersei. Right?
Right.
And now some people know about Jon being a Targaryen.
Right.
And now Daenerys knows, and she's like, you need to keep your mouth shut. This is mine. I've worked hard for it. And he's like, sure, you're hot. I'll bend the knee. Whatever. You're my aunt, but let's do it.
Sick.
I mean, that's the theme of Game of Thrones. We're related, but you're hot. Let's do it. No, and Jon has always had that weakness, right? I mean, we kind of know that, so it's kind of exploited. And once he's given his word, which is nice, it's a strength and a weakness, I think, at the same time. But once he's given his word, it's given.
Right.
So his sisters want him to do one thing. He needs to do another thing, and so he goes with her. And then I'm surprised by Tyrion. So Tyrion's like, Team Daenerys all the way, and Varys is like, are you sure, dude? Are you listening to her? Are you paying attention to her mannerisms? No, not so much. No, it's fine. It's good.
And I was already mad at Daenerys for killing Sam's parent, his dad and his brother.
Yeah.
But here's what I think. A lot of people were really mad that she went crazy and said it was unmotivated. I just think that they didn't take enough time. But I also think that all of the clues and all of the previous episodes were really, really subtle for a reason.
Had molten gold poured on her brother's head.
She burned the Dothraki lords.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She did a lot of murdering.
Yeah.
She threatened to burn the Red Keep from the very beginning.
That happened to her through all the seasons. I mean, it wasn't nice stuff that happened to her through all of that.
Right. But I just don't think the thing is that it didn't seem personally motivated enough in that one episode. It just seemed like she got pissed off that people weren't loyal to her, and so she killed everybody. But that's
there's
not
always this illusion, like if you've read the books and if you paid attention some to the TV show, they allude to the fact that the Targaryens go mad. It's like a roll of the dice.
Right.
You either get the Mad King or you get the nice one, and
but in the
nice one dies.
In the books, she's still disappeared with one of the dragons. She hasn't even gone over to Westeros yet.
No, but you've seen her in the books enough that you've seen her act kind of like Kylo Ren. She's kind of a foot stomper. Like, I'm going to throw a tantrum if everybody doesn't give me her way.
Her advisors are the ones who keep her in check, and then when they betray her,
then she loses it even more.
So I could live with that sudden crazy snap. I didn't really. Two things about it bothered me. The way it portrayed like mental illness as just being like I'm fine. And then suddenly I'm burning the world down. And then the way, I hate to say this, but the way that they portrayed women, I mean, there's always sometimes problems with the way men write women, but like for this one, it was like she was a really strong character, but then she gets like over emotional and flips out and burns everything down. And I just didn't think that was like, I didn't think that was a fair progression of events. I understand it though. I mean, I understand the action.
I saw that in the end, that was where.
Yeah, but you can't refer to the books because we're only talking, the series, like a lot of people haven't read the books. So it's just like a standalone thing,
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
See it in the
series. And I also think it was, like I can see both sides of it. I think it was subtle for a reason because I don't think you can talk about Game of Thrones without talking about politics. And I think people can follow a leader that they think is good and put a blind eye to their subtle signs of tyranny.
Yeah.
And I think so. That's why I think it was subtle for a reason. I think it's one of those sneaker things that.
I mean, did you see it coming?
I thought you could kind of see the when they were mining for the obsidian and how she was like, "Oh, are you gonna bend the knee? Are you gonna bend the knee?"
Yeah.
And how she was like determined. And I was like, "Oh, you need to bend the knee." I was just like, "Well, they don't even know you. Why would they bend the knee to you already?"
And then when they did like bend the knee literally in the finale, she burned him anyway.
Right. The thing was the women and the children, and that's what got to the
women
other
and the children.
It's fine if you want to go burn the red
And that
keep
part,
and you want to go burn.
yeah.
You have a dragon
that was the most unmotivated part. But her speech to Jon in the finale, I'm sorry, I have to jump ahead because we're talking about her. When she was saying that it was for the good, the greater good, and was so convincing and so, like delusional, like
but I think
leader.
That was what pushes him.
And then I was shocked. I was actually shocked that he stabbed her because I thought he was going to go for it. Because it was a great speech that she gave. And it was convincing that maybe she isn't crazy. And he still says he's not sure he did the right thing.
Right.
So.
But I think for a moment that speech also leads him to realize that she'll burn anybody who gets in her way. That she perceives is in her way.
Yeah.
Even if they're innocent
Because
people.
I think he was worried about his sisters.
Oh, I'm sure.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
He should have been. Because can you see her going head to head with Sansa? You can see that happening, right? So, I mean, where does his loyalty lie with the people he grew up with?
Well, we can't talk about that right now.
What?
Not yet.
But that speech was kind of weird because why was she so angry when she was burning them? And then she said, and then she was all angelic about it being for the greater good. And, when she was giving her speech. So, I don't know. It was a little flip-floppy strange, but.
Well, I think that's another politician type trick though.
Yeah.
Like I'll do whatever I'm going to do in the heat of the moment and then I'm going to spin it so that it looks like I'm doing what's necessary for the people.
Yeah.
And she's, the liberator of people, right? She's liberated all these slaves and everything in all of these other places. How did she liberate? She thinks she's liberated these people, what, from life?
Yeah.
Yeah, you liberated them from their lives because now they're ash.
Yeah.
So what about Lord Varys?
I mean, he puts himself in that position.
But he puts himself in that position for a reason.
But he's always put himself in that position. So he's always lived a life that was in danger of not continuing. Mm-hmm. So he knew what the risk was, but he did it because he knew that she shouldn't sit on the throne. I don't know that Jon should have sat on the throne either. I know people were up in arms and they think Jon should sit on the throne. I don't know that he was the best candidate either.
I definitely don't think Bran should be on the throne, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I know exactly why they chose him, because he can see I don't know if they established he can see the future in the show, but because he's omniscient,
yes,
and he can he knows all the people's stories and all that stuff, and because he didn't want anything, But that's the problem. He doesn't want anything, including peace and prosperity. He doesn't really care,
think
because
that's
if he
true.
knew about why he was there, which he hints, he knows why he was there, to become king all along, then he knew exactly what Daenerys was going to do. And he let her do it anyway. So I don't think he's the best choice to be king, because he just doesn't, he's just like a blank
But like
receptacle of people's
in the
stories.
Avengers, did that had to happen in order to get to that point?
Okay, but that makes him just as nuts as Daenerys then.
Well, no, sometimes events just have to unfold the way they unfold.
Oh, hey, McKenna.
I don't think that makes him innocent.
And, you know, I mean...
I think Jon would have been better, but Jon also didn't want it. So he might be happy as a wildling.
Jon is better as a wildling. I am so glad they let him become a wildling. Jon is better as
I'm
a
glad he
wildling.
made that choice for himself.
That's, yeah.
I think it couldn't have been Jon because he was too affected by Daenerys. He was too...
He cared about
steered-
the people, but
He was such a
needed
good
to
leader,
be-
though.
But he needs to be in that wildling setting, where he's in that smaller group of people, where he's leading that smaller group of people, where
He was
he's
just
helping them.
sick of it all, I think.
Yeah, I think
He was
that
over
was
it.
better. I actually think Bran is a good choice. I like the point that Tyrion made, although I think we should go back and talk about how funny it is that they let the prisoner help them decide. But anyways, I like the point that Tyrion makes about how he can't father children, so there is no successor. So every time they have to come find somebody who will be a good successor.
I mean, they could
to
have made
him.
that rule whether or not he could have children, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
I like that he does know what the events are going to possibly be, right? But that people still have free will. So he could have possibly known that Daenerys might possibly choose to burn everybody, but that she might not. And if she did burn everybody, then he saw the line. I feel like he's like Doctor Strange. Like he's there with his magic and he sees all the possible futures and he's like, oh, well, if we follow that one.
To be a leader, you have to be passionate. And I think Jon was passionate.
Well, you know, I think sometimes half the people have to die, so there's more resources for the ones that
But
are
then
left
you
behind.
have...
Okay, Thanos.
But then Tyrion is his hand, though.
Yeah, he's made a lot of bad decisions too.
But he's made a lot of good ones.
Not as far as like the rulers and all that.
Well, he's very compassionate.
He is.
Tyrion is like George Bush. You know, he really cares about the country. He's just not really good about making decisions for it.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious when Samwell was like, let's have a democracy. And I really thought that's what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like what Sam said. That was my prediction for the ending.
I was almost going to say that, too.
Well, you can't talk about Game of Thrones without talking about politics. You just can't. It's so...
There's a lot of politics in it. And I
mean, that's the point
It
of
is
the show.
so entrenched in politics, but I think it's like a big sweeping overview of power and corruption, and it's almost like I read this article that it was like a sociological story. It was like, you know, about the world, about how people were affected by the systems, and any character could have died and be replaced by another character or follow another character, and you'd still love it, right? You'd still follow it. In fact, we did. We all did. But in the end, it switched to becoming more psychological, and I think that's what turned everybody off. That's what the article said. I think it was like Scientific American, is that it went from this big sociological story to a psychological story about the individual characters, and it wasn't satisfying. It didn't wrap it up.
But I liked it. I was glad that Sam got to become a maester. I was glad that, you know, Davos was still there and got to be the master of shit. I was glad that Brienne got to become a knight.
But there's so much stuff that you weren't glad about. Like, a lot of people hated the way Cersei died.
I mean, was that
They hated
anticlimactic?
Daenerys's.
Yes.
I like the way she died because she went down with the ship. She wasn't going to leave. She was a queen and she wasn't going to leave her kingdom and she was going to go down with the ship.
But
and that's
she got to
exactly
go
what
down,
she
like,
did.
in her brother's arms.
Yeah,
one
that was
last
weird.
time.
I mean, did you think you were going to like her more than Daenerys?
No, I didn't like her. I mean, I read where somebody said they wish that when Tyrion was pulling the bricks off, that she would have been like gasping and he would have taken a brick and slammed her in the head. Like, somebody do her in, not just the falling building do her in.
But when you look at it, everything she did for her kids. So there was motivation.
Exactly.
A good motivation behind it because we would do anything for our kids.
Right.
And she was the same way.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from Daenerys' standpoint,
Yeah.
she was just about having the power.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I think it was interesting study on power and corruption, because the problem with the people who were trying to lead was that they were more interested in what was good for them as opposed to what was good for the world. And that's
so then that comes back to Bran.
That could
because
be
he
one
has
thing.
No motivation to himself personally.
right. But does he care about the people?
He does.
Where did you get that from? Because I feel like he just doesn't care about anything. He was so
If
flat.
he didn't care about humanity
About
as
everything.
a whole, he wouldn't have agreed to go out by the tree
Right.
and put himself out
Right.
as bait for the Night King.
Right.
In hopes.
And did
that
you
somebody
understand
would
why
kill
he
him.
was bait for the Night King and why the Night King wanted to kill him? Did you understand why?
because they wanted to kill all of human history.
Right, right.
Because he had all of human
I
history.
didn't get
He was
that.
the
I didn't
third.
understand that in the beginning, but
Yeah.
I had to go back and read later. Sometimes I don't get things the first time. I have to go back and read everybody's opinions and everyone's articles and the memes to sort of understand
Yeah.
what's
'Cause
going
he was
on.
the Three-Eyed Raven, so he had all the
Yeah.
history, and so the Night King wanted to, by obliterating the history, even if
Yeah.
there were a few people that he missed,
Yeah.
they can live on, but there's no history.
Yeah. See, I feel like the Night King, if you wanted, see, I think you can take this story in any time in history, any period of history, and apply it to whatever was going on at the time. I think a lot of people equated the White Walkers and the Night King to climate change, and the dragons were like the nukes and people who have their finger on the button, you know? And so I think it was a little bit surprising to me that the Night King and the White Walkers didn't win. And that was like the end. Because you think about Lord of the Rings, like
Well, yeah, I thought
the
that
magic
was
and
where
all
they
the
were gonna
history, and it
eventually
all
go.
wipes out, and then like Lord of the Rings, you know. That's what I thought they were going to do too.
I thought we were going to eventually.
We also have a comment from Retro Crunch says, I like how Cersei died too. Anticlimactic.
Climactic?
Climactic.
Got it.
But more realistic, not all death is glamorized.
True. I think that just so many of us love Arya, and we wanted to see her get everybody on her list.
Yeah.
You know, she repeated that list so
Yeah.
much that we just
I thought
wanted
she
to
should
see.
still had that list and
Yeah.
mark it off as she was.
I like that moment.
I wish she would have like tattooed
that she
it on
decided
herself
not to do it. I love that moment because she was like, you always, you know, your heroes are always so hell bent on vengeance, and then she's just like, oh, I'm still a kid. I can go live my life. And
Yeah.
then we had that epic scene, the Clegane Bowl. That was so beautifully shot. I mean, I
good.
could almost
That one was good. That
the
was
way
a really good
the
scene.
way the last season was shot and the artistic direction and the cinematography and everything was just enough to make me happy. Just visually, it made me so happy. And that scene was like a fantasy novel.
Super disappointed in it as a whole.
I'm not
There
either.
are parts that I'm disappointed
Yeah, there's
in.
definitely good and bad.
And going back, there was a big thing that happened because there was a big Google search after it happened. Is the Arya sex scene with Macy
Yeah.
Williams? Because everybody, a bunch of people Googled how old is Macy
Yeah.
Williams.
Oh, but
She's
isn't she like in her
22.
20s?
yeah, she's like in her 20s.
Yeah.
She just has that baby face,
Yeah,
that, like
she
that
has a
anime
little
She has a
face.
little baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody was kind of like starting to get
Like
uproar. And,
freaking
oh,
out.
she's old enough.
Right.
Old enough to consent.
Well, and the story, like, I have no idea what the timeline of the story is and how many years go by from the beginning to the end.
Right, I
Obviously,
don't
like
know.
8 to 10 years, right? Because that's how many seasons there were. I don't know if it's happening in real time, but yeah, that was a little awkward, that scene. I mean, I could have done without Arya and Gendry. I don't think that really did anything for me.
Well, yeah, because then we don't go anywhere with it. Like,
I didn't ship that.
I was like, was there a
Well, there's
was there
so
a
much.
Baratheon
I know.
Stark? Like, were we going to get something out of that?
Yeah.
And we kind of get nothing out of it.
Well, maybe it was like one of those red herrings, but I think there were so many things that didn't go anywhere, and people are so up in arms about that. But what I think is so funny is that all those people who signed the petition, the 1 million people who signed the petition to rewrite the ending, I think that's so funny because it's like, guess what?
When I just
Read the books.
redo the entire season.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the books are like, what? How many seasons behind? I mean, she's not even in Westeros yet.
Yeah, no, it's so far behind. I don't even remember
So
where
if
the
you want a
books
different
are.
ending,
Just wait until he finally writes the book.
yeah.
He's never gonna
But I
write
also
the book.
think it's hilarious.
Write your own fan fiction and
I
just write
think
what you want.
that he didn't like how it went the
that's his own
the
damn
entire
fault.
season,
Too
and he
bad.
says, but I realized that I only have myself to blame for that because he didn't finish.
Is this the first time that a series was made before the books were finished? I feel like
that's
it's
a good
unprecedented,
question.
and that is what is happening here. This is uncharted territory. Now, for me personally,
Yeah, I'm curious why they even started it before he was done.
yeah, I mean, because Harry Potter, the movies came out before the series was finished, but not before the last book was finished, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's okay. Listen, they're two different art forms.
But he must have been there to
Yeah.
okay something.
Yeah, he must have had. I mean, you can't. Yeah, he definitely had say.
He had to have been there to okay it.
But when they decided to end it,
know what his
they didn't
contract
give
was like.
themselves enough time, I think is what the problem was. Because they could have justified everything if they just had more
Well, yeah, I don't know why
shows.
they decided to just
Cut
jump
themselves
into,
short.
Yeah, jump into the end all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We're kind of trucking along really well.
Yeah.
We've got Daenerys. She's over in Westeros now.
Yeah. Even
could
if
have
you
had
do
more intrigue
if
and
you do
stuff.
that, then do like Firefly and do a movie. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I had kind of thought that the White Walkers were going to kind of decimate everybody, and that
Yeah.
was going to be the end. You know, they were going to decimate everybody. Maybe a few people get away and decide to like go into hiding or something until they can, you know, repopulate.
Rebuild.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's exactly what I thought too.
And then they head up towards Cersei, and she
Yeah.
gets hers. You know, whatever.
I mean, Cersei wasn't a bad ruler. She kept her people alive. When she burned that church, though, that's when she.
I feel like that she had some selfish intent, that she liked the power.
Oh,
a
she
little
did,
too
for
much.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, there were things that she cared
But
about
she
for
knew
her children.
not
but
to send her troops to the war with the White Walkers and keep them alive and have the other troops completely
Get
decimated.
decimated.
And the thing about the dragons that I read is, oh, the dragons are dying so easily. Why is that? Why is that? Well, probably because when the Targaryens ruled, like what, 500 years ago or something, they probably had a fleet of dragons.
Well, they
And
probably trained them,
They
too.
didn't have like 3 dragons. Yeah, and they were probably better trained, yeah. But they probably ruled with like a lot of dragons, not just like 3.
You like never see Daenerys like taking them through drills or training them or anything for battle. Like,
Yeah.
you would think she just lets them kind of go
Yeah.
be dragons, and it's like.
I loved their faces. I loved how the dragon was like, Jon didn't kill Daenerys. The Iron Throne killed
That is
Daenerys, so
not
I'm gonna
what
burn the Iron
That
Throne.
is not what that scene meant. Okay, I have seen so many people, and this
Yeah.
is just like working my last nerve. That's not what that scene meant, girl. Go.
I'm not saying that's what I think it meant.
The dragon's upset that his mother is dead.
Yes.
He wants to burn the crap out of Jon.
Yes.
But Jon is his family too, Targaryen blood. So he's like, you beep, I want to burn you, but I can't. So I turn my head to show you my anger. He doesn't know what an Iron Throne is. He's a lizard.
No.
giant lizard.
I think they're intelligent.
He's a giant lizard.
No, I think they're smarter than
No,
that.
he's a giant lizard. So he's upset and
No,
he
you
turns
can
his
see it in their
head.
eyes.
He doesn't know what the Iron Throne is.
He knows. He does.
He just didn't want to burn Jon. So he turns his head and fire comes out and he's like, that thing's burning good. I'm mad. Ah, lizard brain. Y'all read too much into stuff.
No,
He didn't
listen.
burn the throne because the throne was evil.
The best thing about Game of Thrones is how it gets people talking and thinking and coming up with their own ideas and thinking it's their own story, and so it should have gone this way, and they get so mad and they get so passionate about it, and that's just the best to me whenever something gets people that excited. Star Wars, Harry Potter. It's like up there as a cultural phenomenon, you know?
See, and there's so much more they could have done. And really, like, Jon's direwolf is the only one that we see, but there are holes in some places where some of the direwolves should still be alive out there in the world somewhere.
Yeah.
The Stark's mother is still alive. The Catelyn is still alive. She's out
a zombie.
There. She's a zombie-ish. She's not a zombie. She's like, what's his face with the eye patch? I forgot.
Yeah.
I lost my brain. But
yeah, the Lord of Light brought her back.
Yeah, the Lord of Light brought her back.
I think she was a zombie in the show, but not in the book.
Yeah. In the book,
because in the show she wasn't very
She's kind of like the
with
mountain.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Robb Stark's wife should be out there somewhere carrying his baby, but they don't show that in the show. So there are all these secondary characters that we could have done things with, that they could have gone on seasons and seasons and intrigue.
They could have, but you know, I wasn't that upset because I've been burned before by Lost. That's exactly what happened with Lost. Do you remember?
Tried to go on too long. I never watched it.
No, not that it tried to go on too long. It ended in the weirdest way that made everyone so mad, and they wanted to throw the whole series in the trash. And I knew I had low expectations. I had no expectations for how this was going to go. I don't even know what that was.
It's fine. It was just me.
I had no expectations of how this was going to go, but I knew it wasn't going to be satisfying because of how much they had to wrap up, and that's exactly what happened with Lost. Mm-hmm. And it took me 10 years to get over that and start rewatching the series again. But the thing about this time is that I feel like because of what happened, I want to go back and rewatch the whole series for the billionth time again and see what clues, because I'm sorry, but those people were talented.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they didn't know what they're doing. They just were rushed, but there's got to be some little hints throughout the series, and if you go back and watch it, so
yeah, I was surprised that people were so surprised by Daenerys' actions. I felt like that they had kind of been leading us to this to let us know that she was going to do this
from the beginning, very beginning.
But it was subtle, right?
It's subtle. You had to.
When you love somebody, you turn that blind eye, right?
Yeah.
Just like Jon, just like Tyrion, just like Varys, just like.
Right, and people that loved Tyrion, because there are people that love Tyrion. That's their character, and he has lots of flaws. That's
every single character in the show is like a murderer. By the way, nobody's innocent. Yeah, no, not one single
like I truly
person.
Love
Maybe
Arya, and she is super dark and twisty. She has serious problems.
Yeah.
She's jacked up.
The series begins with Ned Stark chopping off the head of the kid who ran away from the White Walkers.
Yeah.
Ned Stark, like everybody's moral compass.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the way they did it back then. But what's funny is that it's not really back then because it's not really history. It's total fantasy and fiction, and it's not real.
People don't know that.
Yeah, and people don't know that it's not real.
Spoiler alert,
that's
not real.
what I love about it. It was so real to me. It was the world building was so excellent. Yeah. I don't think you should throw the baby out with the bathwater if you didn't like the ending. I think that there was so much good in it.
There was.
And I think it changed, just like Lost, I think it changed the face of television. Lost 100% changed the way
I think that it's
television
given
was
us
made.
This need to have more cinematic television, right?
Well, the thing about it was like a sweeping epic. And it was almost like you could plug it into any period in history because it was so universal in the struggles. So I think it could be timeless.
How do we feel about the ending?
I loved the ending with the book being the last thing, the Song of Fire and Ice being the last thing.
I wasn't.
Maybe because I'm a book nerd. And
no, but then they said Tyrion wasn't in it at all, and I was like, okay. They went all that way for that joke, and I was like, I don't like when they get cutesy like that.
No, didn't like the joke.
They got a little cutesy at the end.
I like the characters that got to stay. I like the ones that were on the council. There's something about Bronn, he's such a turd.
And by the way, where's Essos in all of this? Like, they just don't care. Yeah. Oh, the White Walkers are coming. That's all right. They're over there.
Yeah.
Like the whole rest of the planet is like, nobody even pays any attention, which is,
That's fine.
I guess that's realistic.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think about Sansa getting the North?
Boy, she didn't get any argument on that, did she?
None. I was so shocked.
I mean, and the guy from Dorne, he didn't say anything. What about the Eyrie? What about the Vale? What about the everything else? Nobody else wanted to pitch in and say try for themselves. It's because she knew. It was like this unspoken thing with her brother. If I vote for you, you're going to give me the North, right? Queen of the North.
And I was surprised because she was Little Miss like Cinderella. I want to be a princess. I want my man to come save me. Like, and you wanted to punch her in the face.
Yeah.
When I read the books, I wanted to punch her in the face. I couldn't stand her. When I watched the series, I wanted to punch her in the face. And she had to go through all these trials and tribulations before she could grow into strength.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like that. She had to be like abused and all that to become a strong woman. Like, I don't.
Some people have to learn the hard way.
Those two sisters were pulled.
That's pretty much how all of the women were portrayed as being strong, as they were like, tortured until they became strong. It's like, really? But, I mean, I thought her story arc was probably one of the best story arcs. And they said her dress gave little hints of everybody who made her. It had the scales for Tully. It had the red leaves for the weirwood tree. It had little bits of Littlefinger and little bits of everybody who sort of made her. And then her crown was very Cersei-esque,
Huh.
I didn't notice that. I'll have to check that
cool.
out. Well, I love what they did to Littlefinger. That was one of my favorite parts of
Justice.
the whole series.
Did you see how good Robin Aaron looked?
Oh yeah, it was.
He looked
nice.
good.
I was like, oh,
they said he pulled a Neville Longbottom.
Yeah, right. You're like, whoa,
What?
where
I
did
didn't even know that was him. I was like, woo.
I had to watch it a couple of times and go, who is that? And,
Yeah, there's a lot of like dirty memes about that.
I know who.
So if you loved it, let us know. If
you hated it,
if
shut
you
up.
hated
No,
it,
just kidding. That's okay.
let us
too.
know.
That's
It
a
was
form
lot
of
fun,
love,
but
right? It's the
we
other side of the
have
coin.
Stuff coming up this weekend on Geekend, and you're here today, so
Oh my God, put me on the spot. Brain switch. Okay, well, San Antonio Symphony is doing the music of John Williams.
Oh really?
Yes. Oh, I wish I could go to that so bad. And then they're doing Hamilton, of course. I think this might be the last weekend for Hamilton. I tried to win tickets on the lottery app every single day, and it never worked out for me.
From what I hear, it's cheaper just to grab a plane and fly to New York and watch it there than it was to
The
watch
cheapest
it here.
tickets were like $200, and the most expensive were like $2,000.
2000. Yeah.
But then the Magic Theater's doing Willy Wonka. Oh my God, guess what? Did you know tomorrow is National Geek Pride Day?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's a thing. Think Geek is doing a thing where you, if you buy something and you get this button, and then they're going to be holding these special challenges throughout the month or throughout the next like 3 months. And then if you do them all, you get like a free T-shirt or something to celebrate National Geek Pride Day.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then there's a picnic on Memorial Day in Live Oak at the Live Oak Park. Gypsy's Welcome is doing it, and it's a pirate-themed picnic.
How fun.
I know, that sounds really
that
cute.
sounds
I mean, there's tons of other stuff if you want to see what
Tacos
else
and
is going
tequila
on.
If you want to do something San Antonio themed, tacos and tequila at Nelson Wolf tomorrow. They're doing that festival.
Check out my Facebook page, Geek Fun
Geek
SA,
Fun SA.
Yes.
for more events.
Yeah,
Check it
she's
out.
got all of the lowdown.
I
on
got the lowdown.
So we talked about Game of Thrones.
And
I liked it. I liked the ending. I liked that they killed off Daenerys because I don't think she would have made a very good ruler at all.
Now she
anyway.
got a temper.
I wanted Tyrion to be there at the very end, and he was. So I'm glad that happened. But thanks for checking us out. I had a lot of fun. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, that's Alicia, and that's Stuart slow on the roll today.
Geek out, SA.